like, subscribe, and click that notification button so when I get information out, you can get information. And yeah, I would call it breaking news. I would call it something that I'm going to teach you tonight. Sit back, grab a drink, enjoy this moment, because tonight you're going to learn something that probably maybe only 1% of America knows exactly how things are going down with the SBA, with the EIDLs, and with small businesses in general. How much money is out there? They've been delivering promises left and right about how they're going to distribute money to small businesses and how they're going to help them get through this climate of economic downturn, which, ladies and gentlemen, there was a committee hearing yesterday which went through all the good, the bads, and the uglies of the EIDL, PPP, PUA, all that $5.4 trillion worth of money, given an estimate, because that's what they do, that went out, that now is just floating around in midair. I am going to take you on a journey tonight. I want you to join me, and all you small businesses out there that I know and love. Thank you for joining. Watch, like, and subscribe. But you're going to be informed on things that you may have never known while they're wagging the tail over on this section of the aisle and wagging the tail on that section with little stories that really have no meaning to your life, whether it gets done or whether it doesn't. It's just a bunch of he said, she said stuff. Okay. Now, tonight you're going to go over what is actually happening and what was said in the committees yesterday. I broke it apart piece for piece, and we're going to analyze this together. So if you want to be more informed than the next business next to you or the next person sitting next to you on how small businesses are doing and operating in this climate and what the Congress and Senate is doing about it, stay tuned. This is going to be good. Ready? Okay. Let's do this together. It might be a while, so grab some popcorn, pen and paper if you want to take notes. And here we go. Other than that, but hey, we still want our 10K.
9 months with self-certification went unchecked, and that had a lot to do with a lot of the fraud.
Okay. Mr. Shoemaker, you referred to money that was, as a result of the investigation, found and brought back. What happened to that money?
Yeah, as I indicated, there was $20 billion returned from borrowers and $8 billion by financial institutions. There's also money that's recovered through our investigation. So this money is coming back to SBA in multiple different vectors, and the timeliness of it actually landing in the Treasury is an issue. We actually have an ongoing review to trace that money, the audit to ensure exactly where that money is coming back into the SBA programs so that it can be made available potentially for other uses, or at a minimum be available within the Treasury.
Mr. Mfume, would that be something that you would like to also have us work together on? They went out and got money, they brought it back in, what'd you do with it?
It would be.
So we will be following back up on that, and Mr. Shoemaker and Mr. Turner, I'd like to flag that for you. We're interested in the money that was recovered, where that money exists, where it came back, where it exists, and what the legality is of those funds. Mr. Turner.
Can we wrap our minds around that for a second? $28 billion that were supposed to go to small businesses just floating around listlessly in midair, and the head of the committee doesn't even know where it is or where it's going. He's asking a non-elected official who said, we have recovered $28 billion plus extra. How much extra? How much? He doesn't even say, but he does mention that they have it, but they don't know what they want to do with it yet. Maybe here, maybe there. The plethora of the imagination runs wild with our money out there. Who knows, in all seriousness and reality of it all, is that this is how your money is being handled, and we've only scratched the surface. Just wait until you see the size of these numbers that I'm going to be showing you today in real dollars, just flying around out there that were supposed to go to small businesses, but never did. Just keep an eye out. This is interesting. It gets better.
The gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses for being here. The federal government spent $5 trillion plus in relief programs in response to COVID-19. And estimates vary widely, but testimony from experts before this committee last year suggested that waste, fraud, and abuse in the COVID-19 unemployment program alone exceeded $400 billion, at least half of which went to organized foreign crime syndicates.
I got to stop right there. I'll replay that so you can understand it, but that's $400 billion in fraud and waste. Half of that, $200 billion, just in unemployment, to organized foreign crime syndicates, as he had said. That's a big statement. Organized foreign crime syndicates. What is that? Well, one might just say, what's a foreign syndicate? Okay, well, according to the DOJ, an international organized crime refers to those self-perpetuating associations of individuals operating internationally for the purpose of obtaining power, influence, monetary or commercial gains, wholly or in part by illegal means, taking money by illegal means while protecting their activities through a pattern of corruption or violence. $200 billion, and where is the outrage here? When we give Ukraine $40 billion for a war that not everybody even agrees with, this is 5 times that, given over to an invisible power, hungry criminals. I told you, this story is too big for Americans to grasp the reality of it. But don't go anywhere. We're just getting started here. Let's let this guy finish talking while you sip on your latte and enjoy the show. Okay?
The gentleman from Arizona, Mr. Biggs.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I thank the witnesses for being here. The federal government spent $5 trillion plus in relief programs in response to COVID-19. And estimates vary widely, but testimony from experts before this committee last year suggested that waste, fraud, and abuse in the COVID-19 unemployment program alone exceeded $400 billion, at least half of which went to organized foreign crime syndicates. Can you provide the committee with the total amount of funding that remains unspent across accounts at Treasury?
Yes, I can. We can actually give you a specific written summary.
When might we expect that?
I can get that to you next week, sir.
That would be beautiful. Thank you, Mr. Delmar. And that would include on what state agencies as well? Would that include what amount of money remains unspent in state agencies? Do you have that information?
I don't know. I will find out and I will get back to you.
Okay. A year ago, this is...
So there they continue to speak regarding the $400 billion missing in funds. And then they ask how much is left and where is it? And the guy says, I'll have to get back with you on that. I thought this was just a meet and greet. I don't know. I'll get back to you on that. Don't call me or I'll call you. Protect Silicon Valley. It's what are they doing? What about that? Come on. There's no clarity there. How about this a little more so? come on. Next, let's see. What else do we got?
A year ago, this is a year ago, there was estimates that there was $76 billion in potential fraud in the SBA program. The SBA itself estimated $78 billion. Secret Service estimated $100 billion. And in improper payments, what is that number finally that you SBA holds to now in improper payments?
Thank you for the question. The number you're referring to was $78 billion in the Eidl program. That was a result of work from our office, and that was a collection of our reports that we removed the duplicates, so we had a number that was $78 billion. That number is at $86 billion, from ensuing work. That does not include the PPP program. We would, our work in that area has uncovered at least probably another $20 billion potential fraud in the PPP program. But we have an ongoing project right now to come up with a comprehensive estimate of the fraud within the PPP and the Eidl program. So currently, what I could tell you, it will be more than $100 billion.
Thank you. And then I just want to get back to you, Mr. Turner. I want to make sure I understand what the estimate of the fraud that your agency has uncovered, the IG's office has uncovered in the unemployment arena.
We're looking at $76 billion, and that's based on the fraud rate that the department produced at 8.5 of $888 billion. So 76 billion is what we believe that's on the low end for the fact that PUA was not included in that number. The department will have the PUA number issued sometime this year is what they've told us.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate all of you being here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll yield.
Okay, notice how they are estimating billions of dollars is if they're guessing the amount of jelly beans in a jar. 78 billion says one guy, the next guy says 79 billion. But now it's 86 billion in fraud, PPP, and Eidl. Another gentleman for unemployment says 26 billion in fraud. But wait, there's more. But we really don't know. But we get major headlines of criminals scammed the SBA of 100K here, 100K there. But when We're talking about billions of dollars that they say that they have no idea where it went. The major headlines aren't giving us the bigger picture. Was there fraud inside the department? Money going into accounts of major players that what's looking like a funded reset of the world? No. Speak. Don't even try. It's just another conspiracy theory. Speak. Is it? Either way, let's have some fun with this. After all, it's coming up. It's coming out of our pockets. So enjoy indulging in concentrated investigative, targeted thoughts on who has our money and for what. The WHO seems to have an endless supply at the time, but that's just a thought. I mean, I'll pin that up and save that one for later. But wait, there's more. So get your money's worth in America, and.
Mr. Turner, I'd like to just ask a question just to follow up, be sure Mr. Ppp and I got it. Social Security numbers were duplicate to where they went to two people, or it went to a different person that may not have qualified?
It went to kind of both. We had Social Security numbers that were stolen off the dark web, and in some cases, we had one person file for claims in 42 different states.
Thank you, Mr. Turner.
I just thought that clip was worth throwing in there. I mean, most of the people I was helping at the time couldn't even get their one original Social Security card uploaded in the right format to get approved for relief. So let me know how your application process was handled down below, because I recall exhaustive measures, red tape everywhere, more documents given to them than necessary, everything but a paternity test to find out if I was who I said I was to get an application to be in consideration and reconsideration and reconsideration and reconsideration. Whoa, what? Come on. Is this lining up at all for you? I don't see it. So let's go to the next one. This is fun, right?
So the fact that you'd want that resource to be available during the next disaster for the Inspector General community, I think that is a worthwhile investment.
Having an in-house capability and save knowledge will make it quicker and more efficient to be able to respond to the next crisis.
Two people, next crisis. What next crisis? Are we supposed to be expecting something? Why is everyone saying next crisis? No, I'm not concerned. I'm just asking.
In December, you issued the department a qualified opinion on its financial statements, in part because it could not support $7.9 billion in unprocessed claims. How are there still unprocessed claims?
We would like to know the same. Part of it has been because some of the appeals that some of the states have made, or some of the claimants have made, has not really been processed, and some states have not even reported the status, and there is what really caused that. And so the 7.9 that the department mentioned was really kind of a guess, and we needed more accountability, more proof, and that was the work that needed to be done by the department.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that. Unprocessed claims that are still being processed. Unprocessed claims that are still in processing that we're not able to process, but are not being processed is what we are doing. Now, I know many small business owners out there who say, my claim is still processing. And if you're still in that boat, my heart goes out to you, especially now that we're getting some insight of the oversight of this floxinauxi-nihilification message that they're sending, which it makes us wonder. Knowing that they said they didn't have the funds to disperse, now hearing that they do and had the funds all along, doesn't it make you wonder whose money do they think this is? It's a simple question.
What are the key metrics that this subcommittee should track to determine if progress is being made to prepare for the next crisis and to protect against fraud and improper payments, generally in unemployment programs?
The next crisis again? No, we don't want that. Boo. That's not a laugh. Okay, anyway, another crisis. Why are they continue saying the next crisis, the next crisis, the next crisis? I don't know, but it's getting fun, isn't it?
Real quick, a question for all of you, and Mrs. Delmar, I'm going to start with you. Does Treasury have an accurate accounting of the amount of taxpayer dollars that have been distributed to deceased individuals?
I believe overall it does. The problem we have is, the amounts that go out can be quantified. The problem in the reporting is from the recipients, we don't always get all the data that we need, and we don't get it in a timely fashion. And some of the recipients have their own infrastructure problems that we've seen delays and incomplete responses in the purposes to which
When you say recipients, and not to cut you off, but when you say recipients, do you mean individuals? Do you mean organizations?
Organizations.
Do you mean business? Okay. So there are organizations that Treasury sends money to that do not have the necessary, enough computers, enough ability to respond back to the information that Treasury requires for dispensing those funds?
We've seen examples of that.
And Treasury still dispenses the funds?
Well, I don't know off the top of my head, how often and how recently the funds have gone out. We can certainly get you follow-up information on that.
I mean, well, members, look, it looks like we got somewhere else that we got to figure something out, because if Treasury is sending money out and there are requirements for information and the recipients aren't getting that back to Treasury, why are we sending them money? I mean, it's like a simple thing. If I'm going to give you $10 and I say, hey, but I need this, and you don't do it, you don't get $10 more from me. That's just a personal thing. Real quick, just wrapping up, Mr. Turner, Mr. Shoemaker, I don't know if you can comment. Do your areas, labor or SBA, do they keep track or have an accounting of money going to deceased individuals?
We have $267 million.
Wait, billion or million?
Million.
Million?
Yes.
Ooh, you almost scared me with that one. That's $267 million scares me too, Okay. All right.
Yeah, but we identified $45.6 billion. That was part of what we found in our review of those four areas, and $267 million of that was for deceased individuals.
45 billion went out, 267. I know I'm a little slightly over, Mr. Chairman. May I ask your indulgence to clarify this point?
Appreciate the gentleman continuing his line of questioning, as any member of this committee would get that to clarify questions.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Gentleman
Chairman.
may continue.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to clarify, we have $45 billion through the auspices of the Department of Labor that have gone out, of which $267 million has gone to deceased individuals.
Yes. And that's potential fraud, but yes, the number 267 million is correct.
All right. Listen, thank you so much, Mr. Turner. Mr. Turner, thank you for the indulgence. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
So here we have Byron Donalds asking about dead people, asking about dead people getting funds. Delmer, the gentleman in the middle, goes into organizations getting funds. Funds, play it back and watch that. It's interesting how they spin this one of the deceased being funded into organizations being funded. Then back to Turner, $267 million went out to dead people. Can you imagine being dead? Ding, ding, ding. God, someone just deposited a large sum of money in my Cash App account. I can purchase a mansion next to your subdivision. Tell me, this is not just getting better as we go. Here we have Mr. Turner saying, we need $100 million to keep 50 employees next. Watch this.
And in the first or second quarter, the rest of the CARES Act fund will expire. So if we are able to expect to sustain the level that we're currently operating under, we will need funds right away. And so that $100 million that the president is proposing would really help us do that. One of the caveats that I would say is that we need it right away, because without that, we're going to lose through attrition about 30 employees this year and another 20 next year. So I just wanted to point that out, but it would really be very helpful for us to be able to go after some of those fraudsters that we've been talking about.
And you expect that the investments we make in pursuing that kind of fraud, we're going to get more than that amount of money back?
Well, let me just say, I can't say that, because once fraud goes out of the door, it's hard to get it back.
Wow, tell me this is not just getting better as we go. Like I said before, Turner is saying we need $100 million to keep 50 employees. That's $2 million per employee. Now, dang, I need to get a job with these guys, because this year, next year, when you do the math, that's $2 million across per dollar per employee. In the cross-reference to ask what he says, you probably won't get a return, and you probably won't get a return on your money. Someone hurry, call damage control or call damage controls to say something else, right? Well, they do.
Is there any further information that we need from Mr. Shoemaker?
Sure. The president did put forward a budget, a request for $100 million. I can assure this subcommittee that you will receive return on investment from our office on that $100 million. Our current base budget was $24 million. We've returned $9.2 billion in dollar accomplishments in just 3 years alone, which represents an exponential return on investment. The president put forward a budget for our office in fiscal year 24 of $63 million. Those funds, as Mr. Turner said, are critical to our office. If we do not receive those funds, we will be in the same situation as Mr. Turner, where we will have to, consider the attrition rate next year in fiscal year 24. So it's critical that we have our base budget of fiscal year 24, as well as these supplemental funds that were asked for last Thursday.
Okay. There's the damage control we're talking about. So one guy says, no, we can't guarantee the criminals will get us back the money immediately. The next guy says, we assure you that we will get back the money back. And then he states that they had $24 million and they returned $9.2 billion back of that $24 million. I've got to give a bravo to that one. That's good work, my friends. But now I'm really confused. No return for sure. Can't guarantee it. I guarantee it. $100 million for 50 employees. Oh no, watch out. Another crisis. You want to see more money coming at you? This one gets big.
The distinguished young gentlewoman from Colorado, Ms. Bokert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Almost 3 years of COVID madness, mask mandates, vaccine mandates, a $4.6 trillion spending spree, school, church, statewide shutdowns. This committee is finally committed to getting to the bottom of the $560 billion in taxpayer money that was lost in waste, fraud, and abuse. The GOA estimates that there is still $90.5 billion in COVID-19 relief funds that remain available for obligation and are vulnerable to that same waste, fraud, and abuse. GOA and IGs have identified multiple recommendations to protect against waste, fraud, and abuse that have yet to be implemented by the Biden administration. Instead, they have thrown more money at the problem. Rather than being reactive and spending more money to find money, the federal government should enact policies to ensure that this kind of abuse never occurs again. Media reports have found that payments were made to over 500,000 federal prisoners, Japanese citizens living in Japan, illegal immigrants, and 1.1 million deceased individuals. In addition to this, our office issued an advisory around claims using Social Security numbers filed in multiple states and filed under suspicious email accounts. Now, I know that some of my colleagues have inquired about these Social Security issues that we're having.
$560 billion in fraud and waste? Where did this new number come from? Billion here, billion there. Who's counting anyways? Still $90.5 billion still available. Who? For what? Why are we still borrowing money if we already have it? Can any average hardworking American, any one of you, say that they would be taking loans if they had money available, especially considering if they were already in major debt? And what's with 500,000 federal prisoners getting funded, Japanese citizens in Japan, illegal immigrants, 1.1 million dead people? I know small business owners that are still alive and breathing, still in processing. When the SBA has been headlining and screaming, we are out of funds, no more Eidl loans, no more Eidl grants, when it comes to light, they've had the funds all along. Why are they withholding the money that was put towards small businesses in a crisis? The Eidl grants could have been paid as promised. The grants, the $10,000 grants, without policy maps, without any kind of red tape. The restaurant revitalization could have been paid as promised. They had and still have the money in their systems. Why are small businesses taking the blows from this? The true victims here are the American taxpayers and the businessmen and the businesswomen that are finding themselves in danger of more and more overreach by a non-transparent, manipulative system of government that seeks its own power over the peoples, and they are not stopping now. Why would they? Hey, I mean, it's a perfect plan in place. A created land of confusion to wag the dog's tail while it's being abused. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's looking like it at the moment, okay? Let's keep giving them more money, right? In return, get less answers, less transparency, more grief, less freedom, and not even lollipop from the bank or an Amscot Tootsie Roll from the teller, an Amscot Tootsie Roll. I love those things. But here, let's go on.
For what reasons, I don't know, and that the Social Security system, Social Security Administration, death record systems was not utilized to filter payments before they went out. So we're talking about responding as a Congress and working together with the executive branch to protect against this ever happening again. Doesn't appear that the protections we had in place were utilized to stop it from happening this time. Mr. Turner, please respond.
Yeah, I think part of the problem that the states were inundated, and some states do not participate in the Integrity Data Hub, which actually has access to the master file. So that was part of the problem. Also, I think in their
Let me interject, Mr. Turner, not to cut you off, good sir, but to stay in this dialogue, because the American people are watching, and the government had no problem telling us every night how many people allegedly were dying of COVID. There seem to be plenty of death records available through the CDC because we were inundated with data about how many people were dying allegedly of COVID. Turned out they died with COVID, but that's another story for another day. So you're saying that you did filter your payments through death records?
What I'm saying to you is not all states did, because not all states participate, but also unemployment insurance is an entitlement which is not affected by the do not pay list.
So, but the do not pay systems, again, my understanding, it's not my area of expertise, it's why you gentlemen are here, we're asking.
Great point. You're able to count the dead people for the media, but you're not able to see whether the person applying for the loan is dead. But that was a really interesting comment. But we can't point the finger at the SBA for not being able to see whether information is coming from a dead living person, because they just can't get those certain forms without the approval of other entities, such as the IRS, for example. So the gentleman's question was asked awry. Nonetheless, it was an entertaining one. Okay, so let's go to the next one here.
From North Carolina, Ms. Green. Georgia, Ms. Green.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. And gentlemen, I thank you for coming before the committee today and discussing this very, very important issue, especially given that our government has the American people in over $31 trillion in debt. So we appreciate you helping track that down and where it goes. Since all the money has been spent on COVID, there's approximately over $400 billion missing, which is extremely concerning to most Americans. And I just want to talk for a brief second about how difficult it's been. Obviously, everyone knows this. The government shutting down our economy, shutting down businesses, paying people basically to stay home, the difficulties of it for employers to get their employees to come back to work.
Another number that was just thrown out at you, $400 billion missing. Wait, I thought it was $120 billion. No, wait, it was $420 billion. No, it's definitely less. I mean, more. I mean, oh no, another crisis.
And just kind of let me give you an example of the scope of what we've been dealing with. Before COVID, before the pandemic took place, we had maybe 100 cases or complaints a year on UI fraud. Since then, we've been getting 100 to 300 a week.
Wow, that's a considerable amount. Thank you for answering my question.
That's a pretty big jump, from $100 a year to, or 100 cases a year to 100 to 300 a week. We can estimate that that's 200 a week and say 75x on the cases that they got. Wow. That's going to employ some people. Let's take a look at another estimate, and the highest fraud estimation of the day goes to this guy right here. Give me a drum roll. That was cheesy. Okay, but anyway, this guy gives us an estimate that we haven't heard all day, and they kind of laugh at him for it, but you never know.
I've got some serious issues with how your agencies have handled the fraud. Would you repeat, and I don't remember who the witness was that gave the amount of fraud that we think cumulatively has occurred? Did I hear in the range, it could be as high as $800 billion?
I know we calculated fraud to be 76 billion, and that's on the conservative side. That's labor.
In PPP and Eidl, currently our work has demonstrated about approximately 100 billion in potential fraud, but we have an ongoing assessment that's due out in mid to late spring to be a comprehensive look at PPP and Eidl fraud.
Have you heard that it could be as high as 800 billion?
No.
I've never heard that amount.
Haven't heard that amount?
I think the most I've heard was 400. And again, we don't know where that came from because we get our rate from the department, and that's what our numbers are based on.
My concern, and I was involved in trying to get to the bottom of the fraud in the state of Alabama, trying to get information, and in my working with some of the investigators, found it very difficult.
You think? Yeah, I think we found it difficult today to get a straight answer on actually what's going on. There's money out there for PPP. There's money out there for EIDL. There's money out there from all these other, we're talking maybe $100 billion that's just there for small businesses that they are not giving it back to. And we don't know where it's going to go yet. We're thinking about it. That was a $800 billion gentleman. He said, where did you get that from? Where did you get $800 billion from? Where did you get all these numbers from? Everyone has different valuations and estimations of your money. And now I hope I've given you some kind of clarity to the situation at hand regarding those who are handling EIDL loans, grants, and relief funds. Where is the money? Where's the fraud? Done inside the framework of our lawmakers, maybe? Where is that money? Big money. These are the legitimate questions. I think it's more important, or equal importance, at least equal importance, to find the paper trails and white paper trails that are tied to those who have inside access and moving the funds around. But these are just my theories and my thoughts, and I want to know yours. So let me know down below. And stay informed on these issues with us, please. Thank you all for watching. I hope that now we know a little bit more, now that you know a little bit more about these EIDL loans and grants. The fraud was very massive, as we know that. But as we're looking at the big picture of the fraud and where it was mainly coming from that they're putting their focus on, is see that they counted out the legitimate small businesses that are still looking for that money in some way, shape, or form, and they won't give it to them. They would rather give it to other entities, and that's not acceptable to me. We need the EIDL loan forgiven. If they even forgave the EIDL loan, say there was 420 or let's guesstimate at $500 billion in EIDL loans that were legitimate, we're going to forgive that loan. Well, what about the 120 trillion or 1.2 trillion that was wasted or fraudulent or abused or whatever? The dead people got it. Theirs get forgiven already. But you are walking and breathing, and you are a back that can actually get dirty, a neck that can actually sweat, knuckles that can actually bleed from your work that they need you to do to pump up their system. That's just how I feel after watching something like this. I respect the SBA. I appreciate them. I appreciate what they've done for small businesses during the pandemic. We needed them. We did. Hats off to them. I'd take my hat off right now, but hats off to the SBA. Good. Okay. Hats off to you. But our congressmen and officials and those guys there that are in charge that have no idea what's going on, shame on you. Shame on you. You need to be forgiven these EIDL loans for the small businesses. Quit focusing so much on this crap that you just showed me right here, that we just showed our players and our people and our followers. And we're going to keep busting up and going forward for the EIDL loan forgiveness, which we deserve because you started this pandemic. You created the virus. We didn't. You put us in the middle of things. You shut down our businesses. We didn't. We were fine until we met you. We were fine until we met you. I mean, that's really the case, guys. And I'm going to keep fighting for you guys no matter what the case may be, what happens or what goes down, or if I'm only getting one view per day, I will fight for that one person out there that's watching. And I'm going to keep praying for you in the name of Jesus. We're going to get this EIDL loan forgiven. So somebody say, hey, along with that, we still won our 10K. I hope you enjoyed the show. Have a blessed night. Weekend.
Yeah.